গুড ইভিনিং, আসসালামু আলাইকুম। আশা করি আপনারা সব টেলিভিশনের সামনে বালা আছেন বিয়োজকল, আর বালা থাকাটাই আমরা আল্লাহ তালার কাছে সবসময় প্রার্থনা করি যে আমরা সব যাতে বালা থাকি, সুস্থ থাকি। যখন সময় আইব তখন আমরা যাইতাম। যাই হোক, গত সপ্তাহ আমরা প্রোগ্রাম করছিলাম, আপনারা অনেকেই দেখছেন। আমরা আসলে আবারও এনএইচএস সার্ভিস, আর বিশেষ করে ইস্ট লন্ডনের রয়্যাল লন্ডনের সহ মানে 5টা হসপিটাল যে এই কমিউনিটির কনসার্ন নিয়ে মাত্র, কিন্তু আস্তা বিলাতর মাঝি বাংলাদেশিরা আছেন, বার্মিংহামও আছেন, ম্যানচেস্টার আছেন, ব্রাডফোর্ডও আছেন, সবর লাগি এই প্রোগ্রাম, কার্ডিফোর লাগি। কিন্তু আমরা একটু কনসেন্ট্রেট বেশি করবো এই দিকে, কারণ আমরা যেহেতু সেকেন্ড বাংলাদেশ মনে করি টাওয়ার হ্যামলেটসও, আর টাওয়ার হ্যামলেটসও এবং নিউ হামর পাশাপাশি এবং ওয়েলথামস্টো সব কিছু মিলাইয়ে আমরা প্রোগ্রামটা গত সপ্তাহ প্রোগ্রাম করা ভেরি আনইউজুয়াল। আমরা রিয়ালিটিতে একলগে 2টা টপিক করি, কন্টিনিউ করি। এই টপিকটা একই টপিক এত সেন্সিটিভ আসিল যে আমরা করতে হয়েছে, আপনারা শত শত ফোন কল আমরা মিস করছি। কিন্তু আমরা আসলে কয়েকটা ফোন কল আজকেও নেওয়ার চেষ্টা করবো, কিন্তু কয়েকটা ফোন কল নিয়েছি। অ্যাট দ্য সেম টাইম আমরা আসলে আপনারা সবাই বুঝতে হইবা যে আমরা এইসব প্রোগ্রাম অ্যাওয়ারনেস ক্যাম্পেইনের লাগি করি। আমরা আদালত নাই, আমরা আইনও নাই, আমরা উই জাস্ট শেয়ার। আমরা কনসার্নগুলো আমরা আপনার লগে প্রবলেমগুলো আমরা অন্তত আপনারা জানিয়ে রাখলা যে সমাজে কোন জায়গাত কী তাওর। আচ্ছা, এর মাঝে ব্যক্তিগতভাবে সবর আবার এক্সপিরিয়েন্স সমান নয়। অনেকের আবার এইসব হসপিটাল ট্রাস্টে যাওয়ার পরে তার এক্সপিরিয়েন্স এক্সেলেন্ট রেটিংও আছে। অনেকের এমন এখানে অবস্থা আছে যে তারা মনে করছেন যে £1000 তার মা এন্ড অফ লাইফ মা যখন আসলা, আমি যখন চ্যারিটিতে বসলাম এনএইচএসের লাগি পয়সা তুলতাম, তো দেখলাম অনেকে ফোন করে কইরা, জলিল ভাই আমার মারে এত খেদমত করছে তারা, আমি কিছু পয়সা দিতাম স্যার। কেউ £1000 দিয়েছেন, কেউ £500 দিয়েছেন। কিন্তু আমার কথা হয়েছে যে 21st সেঞ্চুরিতে আমরা যাতে একজনের লগেও আমরা যাতে খারাপ হয় না। একটাও মানে হইলো টু মেনি, একটা মানুষ মরাও মানে টু মেনি। একটা মানুষের লগে ইট ইজ এ সার্ভিস ইন্ডাস্ট্রি। আপনারা বুঝতে হইবা যে এই ইন্ডাস্ট্রিটা হইলো একটা সার্ভিস ইন্ডাস্ট্রি। কারণ এনএইচএস আসলে আমরা সার্ভিস দিন, আমরা মেডিকেল নিডস যেটা আছে দরকার অন্যান্য দেশে পে করা হয়, আমরা ট্যাক্স পেয়ার হলে পে করি, আর ট্যাক্স পেয়ার হল ফান্ডেড। সো আমরা ইনডাইরেক্টলি পে করি, আমরা ডাইরেক্টলি নিয়ে এখানে পয়সা দিই না, খালি জাস্ট প্রেসক্রিপশন কেনার সময় দেই। যাই হোক, আজকে আমরা কিছু গুড নিউজও আপনারা লাগে আছে গত সপ্তাহের প্রোগ্রামের পরে। আজকে গুড নিউজটা হইল যে আমরা রয়্যাল লন্ডন হসপিটাল সিএ নিজে একটা মেসেজ দিয়েছেন, আমি এটা ফরিয়া শোনাইমো আপনারা একটু পরে। এবং কমিউনিটির কনসার্ন নিয়ে তারা নিজেও কনসার্ন, এবং তারা এগুলো নিয়ে কনসিডার করা যে এর মাঝে সামান্য অ্যামেন্ডমেন্টের দরকার আছে, এর মাঝে কিছু জিনিস করতেই সবর লগে চলার লাগি এবং আমরা কমিউনিটির লাগি। আমি সেটা পড়িয়া শোনাইমো। এবং একজন মোস্ট সিনিয়র প্রফেসর আমরা লগে আজকে আসেন, যদিও তাই নন বাংলাদেশি, তবে আমরা চেষ্টা করবো ইংরেজিতে মাতার লাগি 2-1 জায়গা। আমরা একটু হয়তো আজকের প্রোগ্রাম একটু বেশি ইংরেজিতে আমরা মাততে হইব, তাঁদের শ্রদ্ধা জানাইয়া, তাঁদের সম্মান করিয়া। বাট আপনারা যেভাবে মাততে আপনারা শুদ্ধ বাংলায় মাততে পছন্দ করেন, আর আপনারা যেভাবেই পছন্দ করেন ঠিক তেমনি করে আমার গেস্ট হলে মাতবা। কিন্তু আমরা তাঁদের সম্মান দেওয়ার লাগে আমরা আজকে বেশি মারতাম না। আমরা বাসায় আমরা তাঁদের একটু সম্মান করলাম। তাই সিনিয়র মেনি ইয়ার্স থেকে আমরা তাই সার্ভিস দেওয়া যায়রা। আমি এট দ্য সেম টাইম আমরা মনে করতেই যে এবং তাই একজন কনসালটেন্টস বা ট্রাস্টর এবং রিপ্রেজেন্ট হিসাবে তারা দিয়েছেন, তার রয়্যাল লন্ডন হসপিটাল থেকে দিয়েছেন। তার মানে হলো যে এই সাবজেক্টটা সম্পর্কে রয়্যাল লন্ডন হসপিটালের অবগত আছেন, এবং তারা নানা মিটিং করা, এই করা সেই করা। এটাও যদি আমরা ভুলে যাই তাইলে ওই তো নয় যে আমরা ডাক্তাররা, নার্সরা কিন্তু এই দুর্যোগ সময়ে তারা দিন রাত কাম করা, যারা যে ধর্ম বিশ্বাসী, অনেকে আবার খ্রিস্টান আছেন, অনেকে হিন্দু আছেন, অনেকে জু আছেন। বাট মে আল্লাহ অ্যাকসেপ্ট দেন, তারা কবুল করার দরকার, তারা খাম, কারণ তারা এত কষ্ট করা, তারা এত ফ্রাস্ট্রেটেড, এবং এখনও কিন্তু চাপ কমছে না, যদিও ফিগার একটু ডাউন। অ্যান্ড ইউ নেভার নো, ইউ মাইট হ্যাভ অ্যানাদার ওয়ান, বিকজ নেক্সট উইন্টার আইলে এখন আমরা কেউ জানলাম না কোনটা কোন দিকে যার। সো খালি অভিযোগ দিলে হইতে না, তারার প্রশংসা করতেই, এবং তারা যে বালা খাম করা এবং তারা যেটা করিয়া যেটা আমরা আমরা গেস্ট করতে। এবং হয়তো এই অভিযোগের কারণে আমরা মনে করলাম যে 224,000 মানুষ এখনো ওয়েটিংও আছেন। কিছু কিছু মানুষ করে আরও 1 বছর যদি ডিলে হয় তাহলে মিলিয়নও যাইব। কিছু প্রবলেম অনেক জায়গাতে আছে, পলিটিক্যালও আছে, সামাজিকও আছে, পারিবারিকও প্রবলেম আছে। কিন্তু আমরা আজকে সহজ ভাষায়, উই আর নট হিয়ার টু ক্রিটিসাইজ এনিওয়ান, ভিউয়ার্স অল। We are not here to judge NHS or the hospital trust. আমরা সামাজিকভাবে আপনার কমপ্লেনগুলোরে আমরা একটু সবর গেছে পৌঁছে দেন। এট দ্য সেম টাইম যারা দরদি আসুন তারা খাম করা, সমাজ ব্যক্তিত্ব হলে আসুন, তারা গিয়া বইরা মিটিং করা, এই করা সেই করা। যাই হোক, আমরা ডকুমেন্টারি দেখবো, কিন্তু ডকুমেন্টারির আগে আমরা গেস্ট হলকে একটু পরিচয় করাইয়া দিলে তারপরে আমি একটা ডকুমেন্টারি শেষ হওয়ার পরে আমরা চিফ এক্সিকিউটিভের শর্ট একটা মেসেজ আমি পড়িয়ে আপনারা শোনাইব। সো লেটস গো অ্যান্ড সি দ্য ডকুমেন্টারি।
একদিকে হসপিটালগুলো চরম ব্যস্ত কোভিড ক্রাইসিস সামাল দিচ্ছে, অন্যদিকে 224,000 রোগী এক বছর যাবৎ ওয়েটিংয়ে আছেন ট্রিটমেন্টের জন্য। 5 মাসের হিসেবে 21,000 কম ক্যান্সার সার্জারি হয়েছে একই কারণে। এই কঠিন সময়েই পুরো এনএইচএসকে রিফর্ম করার পরিকল্পনার কথা ঘোষণা করেছেন হেলথ সেক্রেটারি। বলা হচ্ছে রেড টেপ আর ব্যুরোক্রেসি থেকে সরিয়ে আনতে হবে এনএইচএসকে।
Ministers have rightly always been accountable to this House for the performance of the NHS and always will. Clinical decisions should always be independent, but when the NHS is the public's top domestic priority, with over £140 billion of taxpayers' money spent each year, and when the quality of our healthcare matters to every single citizen and every single one of our constituents, Mr. Speaker, of course the NHS must be accountable to ministers, ministers accountable to Parliament, and Parliament accountable to the people we all serve.
এদিকে বাংলাদেশি কমিউনিটির প্রাণকেন্দ্র রয়্যাল লন্ডন হসপিটালের ডাক্তার নার্সরাও সীমাহীন পরিশ্রম করছেন দিন-রাত। ইস্ট লন্ডনের নিউহাম, হুইপক্রস, সেন্ট বার্থোলোমু সহ 5টি হসপিটালই করোনাকালে সক্রিয়। বিবিসিতে রয়্যাল লন্ডনের এই চিত্রের মাধ্যমেই ফুটে ওঠে কঠিন সময়ের কথা। কিন্তু দায়িত্বহীনতা সহ নানা অভিযোগ, অনুযোগ, দুঃখও বাড়ছে কমিউনিটিতে। গত সপ্তাহের রিয়েলিটি উইথ মাহিতে আমরা এমন 2টি অভিযোগ তুলে ধরি।
আমরা অনেক ফোন কল আছে, সো লেট মি টেক ফিউ ফোন কলস।
এই ব্যক্তির অভিযোগ, যথার্থ সেবার অভাবে তার মা রয়্যাল লন্ডন হসপিটালে মারা গেছেন। মা হয়তো কথা বলতে পারেননি, আবার কাউকে মায়ের সাথে থাকারও সুযোগ দেওয়া হয়নি। ডিহাইড্রেশন ছাড়াও তার অভিযোগ, কোভিড হওয়ার আগেই কোভিড ওয়ার্ডে নিয়ে তার মাকে করোনা আক্রান্ত করা হয়।
আমরা যে খানি দিছি, যে খানি তাই সঙ্গে ফাইন ফুড সাপ্লিমেন্ট, লিচু ড্রিঙ্ক, ইটা এখনো রইয়া গেছে। তাহলে আমার কিতা বিশ্বাস হইল যে তারা প্রকৃতপক্ষে তাহলে খানি খাবাইছে, তাহলে চোখ গেছে কি ভিতরে দি, তাহলে ফেটের মাঝে ভিতরে হামাই যে ফেটে আর ফিটে লাগিয়েছি। মঙ্গলবার 2 দিন আগে 2 বোতল পানি আর গুয়াবার ড্রিঙ্ক আমি খাবাইছি, আর লিচুর ড্রিঙ্ক। আমি মনে করছি যে তারা ব্যস্ত, তারা প্রপারলি সার্ভিস দিতে পারতো না। এর লাগে আমার গরনিয়া, আমার মারে তাহলে গরনি মুগি, আর তারা এখানে অন্য পেশেন্টের সার্ভিস দেও। ফিজিওথেরাপিস্ট এগ্রিড হয়েছেন, বাট ডাক্তার এগ্রিড নাই। 13 তারিখ সকালে 10:30টার সময় ফোন করছেন, ডাক্তার সাহেব তোমার মারে জলদি দেখো যায় এটা কি। 2 দিন বাদে মারা গেছেন।
এই ব্যক্তি দাবি করছেন তার মার সাথেও সমান সমস্যা হয়েছে, কিন্তু তিনি তাকে হসপিটাল থেকে ফিরিয়ে এনে প্রাণে রক্ষা করেন। অন্যথায় ডাক্তাররা তাকে প্রায় মৃত ঘোষণার পথে ছিলেন।
তার যে ওভারঅল হেলথ কন্ডিশনের কারণে ওই জন্য সল্ট লেভেল বা আপনার ডিহাইড্রেশনের কারণে ওগন ফেল হইয়া মারা যেতে পারে। তখন তো আমরা গিয়ে নিয়ে আসলাম। ইভেনচুয়ালি আমার মারে আমরা সেলফ ডিসচার্জ হইরে আমি নিয়ে আসতে পারছি উইথ দ্য কনসেন্ট অফ দ্য ডক্টর, এবং মাশাআল্লাহ আমার আম্মা ভেরি গুড।
লেটস সি হু ইজ নেক্সট অন দ্য লাইন। আসসালামু আলাইকুম।
এই রিয়েলিটির লাইভে একাধিক কলার মূলত রয়্যাল লন্ডন হসপিটাল নিয়ে অভিযোগ জানান।
গত বছর সময় পয়লা প্যান্ডেমিক আরম্ভ হয় দেশে। এই সময় মার্চের শেষ দিকে আমার আম্মা, বর্তমানে 78 বছর বয়স, আম্মারে হসপিটাল নগইছে কোভিড সিমটমস দেখা। তো আম্মারে হসপিটাল রাখা হয়েছে, আম্মার লগে আমি আসলাম 2 রাত 1 দিন। আর আমি আমার নিজের চোখে, আমি সচক্ষে দেখছি তারা যে কোন ধরনের ব্যবহার করছে আম্মার সাথে।
বেসিক্যালি আমার আব্বা মারা গেছে 27 তারিখ জানুয়ারি। আমি আনলেস আপনাদের মা বাবা ফিল থাকেন ও সময় অনলি বুঝবা কিলা helpless and desperate you are to help them, but হসপিটালে নার্স ডক্টরে এটা access তোমার যে সময় দেয় না। আমি এভরিডে ওয়ার্ডর বাড়া গেছি আমার আব্বার লাগি, এভরি আদার ডে। আমি ইনফ্যাক্ট তারা ট্রিটমেন্ট যে সময় দেখছি আমার লোকে কমিউনিকেট করেন না। যে সময় দেখছি আমি যে তা খানি দিলাম আমার আব্বারে খাবানি ওইরো না, পয়সা যাইরো খানি। আমরা ভিডিও কলের মাঝে কল মারতে মারতে 20 মিনিট 30 মিনিট উবাইয়া ও সময় তারা ফোন ধরতো বা আপডেট দিত না। সো আই হ্যাড টু গো ইন পারসন এভরি আদার ডে টু গেট আপডেট ফর আমার আব্বার কি তো ওইরো প্রোগ্রেস ওইরো নিনা না। তারা আমার হারাইবার লাগেও দিতা নাই, তারাও খানি দেন না। সো ইস্টার ডাইলেমার মাঝে যে ওকে তোমরা আমার দিতেও আমার আব্বারে দেখতেও দেও না। তো আমি 12 ওয়ার্ডের উবাইয়া খানতাম না। আজকে বলে আমার আব্বাই সান কোরআন হুনতা, আমি তাহলে বাদে কোরআন ক্লিপ দিয়ে দিছি, আমি বাদে তাহলে জামজাম পানি যেদিন মারা যায়, যেদিন তারা আমার ফোন কইরা হই না আমার আব্বা মারা যায়রা, ওদিন আগর দিন নানি আমি গিয়া তারা বেগ করছি একজন নেসাসলা বইন আমার আব্বারে দেখতে দো, তাই কইরা 90% আইছে, তাই লাগে আমার বাদ ফিলিং লাগে দিনে তাই বাস্তা নাই, তাই আমার না করছেন। বা ওদিন সকালে আমার ফোন করছেন যেদিন আমার আব্বা আনকনসিয়াস হয়ে গেছেন। তো আমি তাই মরা অবস্থা দেখে লাভ কি তো যে সময় আমার আব্বা 2-3 কথা আমার কইতা পারবা ওয়াকুন দিলে ও সময় রিস্ক কিলা ডিফারেন্স হয়। মরার বাদে আমার যে বাদি পায় একটু কথা 2-3 কথা যে সময় তৌফিক থাকে হওয়ার, আমার আব্বা মানে আমার কিছু কইতা চাইছিল বা আমিও তাই কইতাম না বা আই লাভ ইউ বা আমি একটা প্রজেক্ট করলাম আমার আব্বার লাগি, আমি লুকায় রাখছিলাম বা আমি আমার আব্বার কইলাম না যে আব্বা ওটা আমি তোমার লাগে করলাম, তোমার লাগে একটা মাসিদ করলাম, বিকজ এটা জিনিস আই ওয়ান্টেড টু সারপ্রাইজ মাই ড্যাড, বা আমার ওটা তৌফিক দিছেন না তারা।
এদিকে হসপিটালের পেশেন্ট অ্যান্ড ফ্যামিলি গ্রুপের সাথে এক বৈঠকে এর চিফ এক্সিকিউটিভ যে কোনো ধরনের অভিযোগ আমলে নেওয়ার জন্য প্রতিশ্রুতি দিয়েছেন। তবে রয়্যাল লন্ডন হসপিটাল ব্যক্তিগত কোনো বিষয়ে মন্তব্য না করলেও জানিয়েছে এমন সব অভিযোগ আমলে নিয়েই ফ্যামিলি কন্ট্যাক্ট সেন্টার স্থাপন করা হয়েছে। সেন্টার ইমেইলের মাধ্যমে অথবা টেলিফোনে যোগাযোগ করে পরিবারের সাক্ষাৎ বা কোনো চাহিদার কথা জানানো যাবে।
How do you feel when you speak to your family? Happy?
Happy.
If people are well and straightforward, then the clinicians that we have here will provide that update. But if there's conversations that are best had by the treating team looking after that person, then the staff on the ward will provide that update, and that might be the medical staff or the nursing staff.
Viewers, welcome back. আমরা ছোট্ট একটা ডকুমেন্টারি দেখছি, গত সপ্তাহের 2টা ফোন কলও আপনারা দেখছেন, বাট লেটস গো। অ্যান্ড আমি আমার গেস্ট হলের পরিচয় করে দিলে এখন, যদিও আগে হইছিলাম পরিচয় করে দিব, বাট স্লিপ অফ টাং হয়ে গেছিল, তখন আমরা ডকুমেন্টারিতে গেছি। সো লেটস গো। আমরা আজকের গেস্ট, সো আমরা আবু মুমিন, ক্যাম্পেইনার অফ কমিউনিটি অ্যাক্টিভিস্ট। মুমিন ভাই, আসসালামু আলাইকুম।
ওয়ালাইকুম সালাম ওয়া রাহমাতুল্লাহি ওয়া বারাকাতুহু।
হাউ আর ইউ?
মাহি ভাই,
আপনি ভালো আছেন?
আছি আলহামদুলিল্লাহ, আলহামদুলিল্লাহ।
থ্যাংক ইউ। আজকে আমরা সামান্য একটু বেশি ইংলিশ মাতবো, কারণ আমরা লোকে একজন গেস্ট আছেন এবং আমি চাই না যে তাই আনকমফোর্টেবল ফিল করতে। আব্দুল দয়াস ভাই, চেয়ার Royal London Hospital Parents and a Family Group. Welcome to the show. Assalamu alaikum, Dayas bhai.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, Mahee bhai.
How are you?
I'm very well, brother, under the circumstances.
Thank you. Thank you. We have a doctor, I couldn't speak much with him, so we re-invited him, Dr. Nasir Ahmed Chowdhury, Manchester এলাকার একজন জিপি এবং 2টা হসপিটালের ইমার্জেন্সি ডক্টর এবং Bangladeshi Medical Association UK এর প্রেসিডেন্ট। Welcome to the show. Assalamu alaikum.
ওয়ালাইকুম সালাম।
Thank you. Thank you. We have a guest, I mentioned many times, but from Royal London Hospital, Professor Maghdi Yaqub. Welcome to the show. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam.
How are you?
Alhamdulillah, everything is fine.
Thank you. The most senior doctor and a consultant of a Royal London Hospital has been serving the community more than 26 years. Right, welcome to the show. Thank you. Viewers, I have to read a statement from Chief Executive of Royal London Hospital, Jackie Sullivan. Chief Executive of Royal London Hospital said hospital executive had a dedicated meeting with the RLH, which is the Royal London Hospital patients and a family groups on Wednesday the 17th of February to address some of the concern raised by the group. We are grateful to families and communities for their feedbacks, and we will continue to work together so we can make further improvements. So basically, তারা লগে মিটিং করছেন 17 তারিখ, আমার মনে হয় দয়াস এর লগে করছেন। Things are moving in a right directions, and যদিও আপনার ছোট ছোট আপনার যে কনসার্নগুলো আছে এগুলো তার কাছে রেইজ করা হয়েছে, তারা এগুলো অবগত আছেন। সো আপনারা যে মাত্রা ক্যাম্পেইন করে এটা যে বেনিফিট হওয়া শুরু হয়েছে, আলহামদুলিল্লাহ, সো ইটস এ গুড সাইন। সো লেটস স্টার্ট ফ্রম দয়াস ভাই, let me start from you, bhai. Can you hear me, Dayas bhai?
Yes, sir. I can.
Okay. Right. just tell us where are you now? You guys started campaigning. Where are we?
Yeah, well, as you all know, Mahee, this campaign is only been born 3 weeks ago, and over the 3 weeks, we think we have managed to done quite a bit in the sense of engaging with the Royal London Hospital management. And although so many of us have experienced horrendous experiences and painful experiences, however, we got together with putting grief to aside, and we wanted to work for the community, work with the hospital, so that we can facilitate or we can request better care from the hospital itself for the people within the community. So first of all, I would...
Doyas bhai, আপনার main concern kita? What is the main concern? যেটা নিয়ে discuss করা ওটা হোক আমরা, please.
Okay, sir. The main concerns, as you all know, is basically, obviously, we understand we are in a pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic. We understand all that, but majority of the time, the problem was a lot of our elder people, which includes one of my mother, who's 86-year-old. When they are hospitalized, they cannot communicate. They got a severe, most of them have, when they're old age, they have severe disabilities, and they have language barriers. They cannot feed themselves. They cannot go to the bathroom themselves. And as a result, when one is not able to be looked after themselves, they need a loved one, a family member beside them, which can, where they can help facilitate that situation, where they can feed them, look after them, and do the caring that is really required for the improvement.
Okay, but you started achieving some goals. Where are you now?
Well, as you know, those concerns, we raised the concerns from the community to the Royal London Hospital management, and we would like to thank them for engaging with us. Jackie Sullivan, Dame Williams, and other senior management staff. We felt the meeting that went yesterday was very fruitful, and they do understand to the extent that they are on various sectors, they are falling short, and they said to us they want to work with us, work with the wider community to make sure.
But Doras bhai, I don't want to think that I've been paid by NHS today, but
no.
Okay, I don't want it to feel. I think don't you think that we also need to change ourselves? If 10 people phone from one family to NHS, because I was talking to someone after my last programs, and he said, really, bhai, I as a Bengali, we get about 15-20 members for one patient phoning us. What do you want us to do? Don't you think that we should take within ourselves that management to ekjon nilam, niya koilam je আমার মাল লাগি আমি ফোন করবো, আমার 17 জনে ফোন করা লাগতো না, তো অনেক জিনিস চেঞ্জ হইব না, আমরার মাঝে তো কিছু চেঞ্জ আনতে হইব না, আপনি মনে করেন?
No, I agree. After the কথা কইছেন, of course, I think that's one point of contact is normally the case. যেমন আমি আমার ফ্যামিলি থেকে, I represent my family when my mom in the hospital, and I convey the messages to my families. It's unusual. Maybe one or two. There might be cases where I'm not really sure. I can't.
No, okay. Even three phone call from one family is too many phone call, isn't it?
Yes, it is. If that is the case, it is. They should liaise within the family and get one point of act, one person communicating with the hospital or the nurses or the doctors and conveying that. I agree with that. They shouldn't be talking multiple times the same subject.
Right. So let me go to the other brother, which is then I go to the two brothers from the NHS. Let's see. Munimbai.
Yeah.
You tell me, where is the concern? I know a lot of it, but I understand. But look, when there is a COVID, the homeland we came from, those hospital was closed. The doctor refused to serve the COVID patient. Now tell me, the country we came from, the Bangladesh, so-called Bangladesh, there was not even one hospital was open on a peak time of COVID to look after the COVID, because doctors said, no, I'm not serving. So after compare, yes, we like complaint. Yes, I'm not saying NHS need to improve many things in their service, But there are few things we have to also excuse them because it is COVID. Nurse most probably said, oh, I don't want to go closer to her, I'm going to be far from it. Or am I going mad, you tell me?
No, you're not going mad. These are valid points. I want to start by praising the NHS, in particular Royal London Hospital. We are the children of our parents who have used Royal London Hospital. We don't mean any ill of Royal London Hospital. I myself, with you, with Channel S, I did the cycle for the NHS. I cycled over 32 London boroughs to raise money for the NHS.
Yes, and
yes.
You are the one praising them.
Of course. But I have to tell you, yesterday, 3 o'clock in the morning, after our meeting, I was in that meeting with the Royal London Hospital management. A sister called and said, the doctors have said my mother is dying. The doctors have said my mother is dying, and the doctors have said, and the nurses have said that out of 3, only 2 are allowed. So one daughter is waiting downstairs and crying and said, they called and said, please help us. The rule, because of COVID, stipulates that only 2 are allowed. However, we have learned in our yesterday's meeting, there are compassionate grounds, there are flexibility. And alhamdulillah, after the family contacting the MP, the family contact center, alhamdulillah, the 3rd daughter, after a lot of stress, managed to see her mother before she passed away this morning. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi rajoon. These are areas I think Royal London Hospital can improve on. They can be compassionate. We're not talking about COVID. We're talking about end of life. Yeah.
Munim Bhai, you are experts of end of life. You bury everyday people end of life. But with the pressure of NHS, why don't you, on your meeting yesterday, why you didn't offer them a voluntary service that you guys could have managed?
We have. After my mother died in Royal London Hospital, after they did a fantastic service, but some of the staff members of Royal London Hospital, they treated my mother in an undignified way. In front of me, male nurses came and wanted to give my mother a full wash. And I said, this is unacceptable. At that time, we spoke. I've written to the Bart's chairman, Sir Stephen O'Brien, and he confirmed that there's going to be dignity in care. They will look at the cultural sensitivities. Until 1 week ago, one of the brothers said they did the same thing to his mother, and he could not say anything. We have offered continuously to offer our support and assistance. And I was saying earlier on, the wall is very high. The community needs to engage with Royal London Hospital, help the staff members. Usually what happens is when somebody is unwell, the family members go and help and support with feeding, etc. We also found out yesterday, there are grounds, if there are cases like that where elderly parents are not able to eat for themselves, they are able to go and feed their parents, because there are cases we know that family members, the patient has not been able to eat, not 1 day, not 2 days, 3 days and over, eat and drink. Now we've learned that that space, the family member could be welcomed, and we welcome that. That's the first thing we've asked from Royal London Hospital. We've asked them 31, we made 31 recommendations. And the first one was that, and alhamdulillah, the hospital management have said they will work with us on that first one, the most important one. Can you imagine your own mother? You know, she's unwell, she cannot eat, and she's starving. She's thirsty for not day 1, not day 2, but 3 days and over. It's unacceptable.
Right. At 2:40, let me go to our doctor from Manchester. Nasir Saheb,
জি
আপনি তো শুনছেন দুইজনের মাত, আপনি এখন ইংরেজিতে খোক আছেন, আপনি কি তা মনে করেন ইমপ্রুভমেন্টও তো দরকার আছে ডেফিনেটলি, আপনি কি তা মনে করেন নি যে সার্ভিস আমরা কালচারালি এবং রিলিজিয়াস যেটা আমরা গোসল করানি, আমরা মা বাপরে দেখা এইসব সেই সব আপনি আপনি একটু আমরা খালি তাইলে রয়্যাল লন্ডন লইয়া মাথুই যাব, আপনি একটু ব্রডলি কাভার করিলে কমিউনিটি তো বিভিন্ন জায়গাতে আছে, নাহলে আমি একটু বিপদে পড়ে যাব।
It's very important. I'm really, it's quite an experience to hear the views and experience you have experienced. In NHS, the core of NHS is dignity and respect and privacy. So basically, as far as we know, that all of the members of the staff should have basic training about the dignity, respect, and cultural variation. And obviously, if the wish has been expressed by the patient or by the family that my mom or a female member of our patients should be treated by female only, unless if there's any life-threatening emergency condition. So say, for example, if it comes to the resuscitation case, that can be different. And if it has been expressed, that should be respected. So maybe what I can understand, what I can gather hearing from yourselves, so there may be option of improvement to make sure that the mandatory provision of dignity should be provided. So dignity, respect, and cultural variation, these are expected for us to deliver and to be a part of it. For any reason, if it's not been done in up to the level of NHS's ethos, what we should be providing, then that management should be looking into at particular areas or particular sections or particular hospitals, particular sections of the NHS to improvise it. Because people, if they're asking for things what is reasonable, such as privacy and dignity, they should be provided for. You have mentioned about a few other things about family members visiting the ill people who are actually perhaps dying or the last days in their life. During obviously, what I have understood here from the discussion, we're talking about non-COVID patients. However, we need to be a bit careful at this moment. So I'm not taking anyone's side, and I don't want to upset anyone by saying it, but I need to be factful. Even though our rate is going down now, we have to be careful so that we do not start spreading the viruses once again by multiple travel to the hospitals and multiple contact. However, I have, in general, we have actually experienced that from maybe from the same family, 3 or 4 or 5 or more people are bringing about the same thing, or maybe there's one point of contact the person will be bringing up a few times a day. Unfortunately, what happens, it can be very frustrating and difficult for family to wait to find out what's been happening. But sometimes giving a bit of time and space actually helps our relatives and our patients who are in the hospital, because the more the people are diverted away from taking the care and taking the calls and trying to explain and console the family members, the less they will be able to provide the time for the patients. So here we need to be a bit we're emotional. I'll be most emotional for my parents, for my children, for my family. But probably we need to have a balance of everything. So what I see here through your channel, that this program actually is bringing on awareness and raising the awareness of in the community as well as the NHS trusts. And I hope through this program, other NHS trusts and other people in the whole of the country can understand the problem, the difficulties what the families and patients are facing, and they can bring on necessary changes to provide the required basic provision of the NHS.
Thank you. I'm not going to go to the professor yet. I am going to go to Munimbai, because I need to give longer time to professors. The doctor said, have you picked anything that you don't like? Munimbai?
Sorry?
Have you picked up anything that you didn't like, that doctor said?
I think the doctor talked correctly about dignity, and I agree. If there is a darura, if there is an emergency, of course, a male nurse or male doctor should treat that person. But in my case, and in the brother's case last week, he cried. He said he cried. He could not bear. His mother was not on end of life. She's now home. She's now home. Now, this is what, yes, you talked about training, doctor. Yesterday, they confirmed that they're going to introduce new training. You have a borough that has 32% of the population which are Bangladeshi. You have 50% of the population which are over from BME Muslim communities. Why should they be introducing new training now? They should have been introduced a long time ago. I'm a social worker. I'm part of eating care. Everyone knows. End of life. After my mother died, we set this up. We have training. Why, such a large hospital? They should be very much on top of these cultural sensitivities. I'm getting cases. Wallahi, I'm going to tell you, cases after cases every single day, where people are saying, staff members, nurses, majority of the nurses are great and doctors are impressive, but some are very rude. They're having to, the hospital needs to understand the key stakeholders are the hospital staff and then the patients and the family. These are the two equations. What it seems to me that the patients and the families have not been given the importance.
Munim bhai, I need to take out
only after recently, just to make my last point, after the writing and the posting, they've opened up the family support center or contact center. That's welcoming. But after 5 o'clock, the families still need a one number that they can contact. This should be, in times of COVID, this should be 24 hours, 7 days a week. This is what we've said to them. Sorry, Mahee bhai.
No, that's fine. The reason I am not going to the professor, because I want you guys to take out everything, because he's representing and he can cover everything. That's what I'm saving him for a minute. I hope he's not taking it personally. Right. Dayas bhai, have you got anything to say?
Yeah, actually, what I would like to say is, the Royal London Hospital, they've actually opened up a contact center. Now, my concern is, now, as a result of opening that contact center, have they taken away calling in the ward? Because whereas before,
I don't know if Magdi Yaqub can say anything about it. Because, but
actually,
we will ask him because he might be. You got to understand his role is a very.
No. I understand that, but what I'm trying to say is my concern is that if a result of the opening up the contact center is taking away contacting the ward, now that is even not good. It's in the wrong direction actually, because.
But you should have talked about it on 17th on your meeting.
We did raise that. We said that 48 hours is not 48 hours. It's turned to 60 hours. The reason being is if somebody decides to contact them 5 o'clock, they cannot. So they got to wait to the following day 9 o'clock, and from that call onwards, it's 48 hours. But they did say that they will try to address it within 6 hours, 7 hours, 8 hours. But just imagine being in the shoe of a family member who's in hospital, who can at any moment pass away. Every minute is like a day. Just imagine that how much that 48 hours is to them. It's so painful. Believe in me, Mahee bhai, I know it, because when your loved one is in hospital, especially your mother or a father, and they're not going to survive, you cannot sleep, you cannot eat, nothing is possible.
Can I get one more point, if you don't mind, Mahee bhai?
Yes, because you got only 1 minute, because then we're going to go to break, and then I will give the professor about 15 minutes to cover everything.
One of our recommendation has been that since we have a massive population, we've highlighted to the Royal Hospital there is no representation from the British Bangladeshi community at the higher levels. We've said there needs to be a representation. The last 2-3 weeks, we have been an independent organization led by families and patients, been receiving all the referrals. People are crying to us. They should be crying to somebody in the hospital and who addresses their concern. So what needs to happen, that partnership, I don't want that, the hospital, after this goes away, they create a talk shop at the bottom layer. There should be within the CEO.
Right, thank
Needs to
you,
listen
thank
to
you.
the wish of the
We
community.
have to go to a small break, but we will come back. Viewers, please stay with us because I done it different way that I didn't want it to disturb Magdi Yaqub so he can have a clean about 15 minutes to explain everything. So let's go for a quick break. Thank you. Welcome back, viewers. We were talking, I know আপনারা অনেকে রাগ করে মনে হয় জরুরি ভাই আজকে যে আমরা একটু সম্মান করতে হয় আমরা অতিথি হলে আমরা বাপদাদার আমরা সম্মান শিখাইছেন সো লেটস গো টু আমরা অতিথির কাছে আমরা যাইমু এখন তার কাছ থেকে একটু মন ভরে শুনবো তারপরে আমরা ইস্ট লন্ডন থেকে মুভ করতে হইব একটা ফোন করলে গ্লোবালি একটু মাতৃমণি আসতে ইংল্যান্ডের কিন্তু অবস্থা NHS so let's go to Professor Magdi Yaqub. I don't think I need to ask you any questions. You know what to say. You overheard 3 of my guests talking, but one of them is a doctor, but 2 of them on my left they was talking about, and you must have made a few notes. So please start. Thank you.
Thank you very much for asking me to come.
Thank you.
Speak to all of you. Every point you has been raised is valid. And I would try to address each one of them in the context of what has been happening in East London and possibly across the land.
Thank you.
Let me take you to one of the days in January when I was there were 460 patients in the hospital with COVID in general wards. And over 150 patients were critically ill who were on ventilator in one hospital I'm talking about. This is a Royal London Hospital. On top of that, the usual emergencies were coming in. And this is not an ordinary disease as most of you know. I don't have to tell you anything. It's highly infectious. Also, in order to protect us as well as protect our patient, the stress and strain which it had put on the staff in NHS, particularly at Barts Health, has never been seen in my entire life. It is definitely an unprecedented time, at least the January as well as the last March and beginning of April last year. Now you need to look at that context, what I told you. During this time, many members of the staff have been unwell and they are shielding at home. My senior colleagues, because there are no elective surgery happening in the hospital as theatres were being converted into ventilated beds, my senior surgical colleagues who are expert in one of the most sophisticated field in medicine were acting as healthcare assistant in the wards and coming and helping us in looking after these patients. They are top surgeons. We are talking of a hospital or a trust, which is one of the biggest trusts in the land, where more than 50% of the people work are of BME background. So I want to make these points clear that it is more than 50% of the people in Barts Health are from BME background. It's not that we are not used to cultural sensitivities, religious sensitivities. In fact, pride, this is our goal, compassion is one of our slogans. But all that thing, what you guys have said, got to be put in the context of what was going on in the month of January. It was a tsunami wave which many of the people had never seen in their life. We had medical students acting up as healthcare assistants or phlebotomists. People who are working in the laboratory have never worked in the wards, like people who do blood tests, people who analyze your blood or urine. Those people were redeployed in the mainline clinical field. Those people who have had no previous exposure to patients directly, who used to work in the background, and these people are exceedingly important, like radiographers, whose job is basically to get you into a scanner and take some pictures for us to see. Those radiographers who have had no direct patient skills, what we need as nurses or doctors, were redeployed in mainline direct patient care. Everything what you've said, in my opinion, got to be looked at in that context. A top-class hospital does not become bad overnight. It was an unprecedented time in NHS. It still is. You people may not know, still the wards are full of COVID patients, and still our critical care unit is full of people who are on ventilators. And still my surgical colleague who do kidney transplants, because they can't do that at the moment, those procedures are suspended because of COVID. They are going and working as healthcare assistants, not nurses. Healthcare assistants are those who do very low-grade tasks in the wards, like cleaning the floors, changing the bed sheets, cleaning the bedpans. Those sort of roles are being done by these highly skilled senior people. So I would just like you to pay a little bit of attention to what we have gone through on our side. So I'm just saying what was going on in our life. That every day a doctor like me would leave house and would say a little prayer to God that I hope I come back home safe to my family, because I had no idea whether I will be coming back safe or not. Those who were at the front line, it was like in a war zone. And I think our Prime Minister, as well as the health advisors, have alluded to a couple of times in their press conferences that it is a war. Let me just tell you one thing, that during World War II, none of the people who are on this forum were alive. We were not born yet. So let me tell you a historical fact, that during the entire World War II, which was 5 years of constant bombing, we lost 70,000 civilians in 5 years. In 1 year, COVID, we have lost more than 120,000 civilians. Just put those stark facts in front of us, that what actually we have gone through as a nation. We need to just take that and think calmly that when we come out of it, yes, I fully agree that in many families, bereavement has not even started because of the way the people have passed away. Even the burial has been restricted. I fully understand that the bereavement will actually start when some sort of a normal life starts. So I fully share your frustration, anger at time, and everything what you've said, you have got every right. When it comes to engagement from the community, I take you a couple of years before COVID time. I wanted to set up a volunteer scheme in Barts Health to promote organ donation. Now, it is slightly out of the context, but it is an example which will sit very nicely when it comes to engagement from our community with the Royal London of Barts Health. I wanted to create a volunteer workforce where they will be trained by me and my skill staff. They will get a certificate. And those guys, ladies or gentlemen, would go out in the community and say the message that many patients from our community are on the waiting list, why people from our community don't get onto the donor register. Just bringing that little fact, that why we are good at taking, but when it comes to giving back something, why we are not taking a lead. They spoke to the imams of all the mosques. And when we tried, advertised it, social media, it was like climbing a Mount Everest to get volunteers to come and join this very noble cause to promote organ donation.
Thank you.
When it comes, I'm sorry to say that, yes, when it strikes you personally, we as a community, we heard because our loved ones had gone. But when it comes to create a volunteer force, say, for example, during this time of 500 young individuals to come to Royal London Hospital and say, we want to be the volunteers and we want to take on the task of healthcare assistance, not to look after my mother or your mother as well as somebody else's mother is your mother as well. I think when it comes to talking, yes, we are very good. We are one of the smashing family networks we have got. But I think we need to slightly think laterally and say that when the COVID is over, we as a community need to form these volunteer groups and come and engage with us.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Professor. I'll come back to you, Professor. I will give you...
Can I just make one comment which our brother, Dr. Nasir Chowdhury made, that what level of statutory mandatory courses, which is one of them is dignity, compassion, cultural sensitivity, which we do educational courses for all the staff in Barts Health. In my hospital, you can't get an appraisal unless you have done all your courses and compliant with it. And you have to demonstrate automatically that you have got certificates, passed, assessed and passed. And the pass mark for most of these courses is 80 to 90%. So I hope I can just tell you that none of the staff, now the appraisals happen from a domestic to a senior consultant. You can't get appraisal, which is your annual procedure, until and unless you are 100% compliant with these courses, which are run both by e-learning mostly by face-to-face teaching as well.
Thank you. Munim Bhai. Brother Munim? Mumin Bhai?
I can hear you.
Right. With respect, have you got anything you want to ask him? But I want short questions, not you giving answer to the professor. Do you have any?
My question to...
But you and him can talk. I'm going to give you 1 minute to speak to him. I'm going to give the other brother, Doyas Bhai, another minute to ask him. But short question, do not repeat, just show. If you want to ask, you might not find him again, so you got him here.
Hospice UK, they commissioned a research. They found 250,000 Muslims by the year 2030, and that number will be staggered up, that the Muslim community, the Bangladeshi community, we're going to see more and more in the hospital and care system. What question, I'll give you a case. Elderly Bangladeshi woman in Royal London Hospital. She wanted to go to the toilet. She had to wait 2 hours until a nurse could come. She was buzzing. What would you say to this person, Bangladeshi elderly woman? I'm beginning to feel sorry for them. They can't speak. What would be your response, Magdi Yaqub?
I would say that I would be very angry if my patient was to tell me that I waited for 2 hours to get help to go to the toilet. I fully understand. It is not acceptable. Nothing what you say is acceptable in the normal time. I
say to you that this is a historic problem with Royal London Hospital. It's Now we're seeing a inflation. We're seeing it in multiple cases. I am saying to you, I myself have experience with you. We want to engage with the Royal London Hospital. Can this be facilitated? Because it's you know, and then you know, the historic problem, it's been happening for a long time.
As I said, that I have worked in Royal London Hospital in multiple capacities. And as Brother Mahee said, that Alhamdulillah, I'm now one of the senior physicians as well as professor. The thing which you are describing, I don't identify my organization to be with. Yes, it may be happening. No institution is perfect. All those things, what you're saying, may be happening. But I can just tell you that every day, thousands of successful flights happen. If you get one crash, it becomes the headline news. I would just like you to say that look at our website and see how many brilliant messages we get, how many pets we get on our back. I'm not talking of COVID time, I'm talking of before COVID time. Look at our results. We are one of the best in cardiac, renal, cancer. All the specialty, you look at it, we are at the top of the ladder. We are one of the best performing trusts. Not only in this country, Bars Health has got an international reputation, both academic and clinical excellence. Yes, I'm not going to dwell on those excellences. Yes, even one complaint, what you just said, is not good enough for me, and we need to get better. We are excellent, we want to be even more excellent. And every point you are making, I've registered it. I will do my own facilitating my team back in Bars Health. But we need more and more engagement from our community to highlight these issues so we get better. We don't want to bask in our glory. We may think that we are the best. We are not the best. We would like to get to a top position, but it will only happen with bilateral constructive dialogue. And I can tell you that Bars Health, whatever it was in the past, the climate is fantastic now. It is a fertile ground. And everything which you guys will put forward to our board, they are listening, and they're not lip service. They will take action.
Thank you.
I've seen fundamental change in the last 5 years in the way the Bars Health is moving forward.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can I ask two more questions?
Can I come back to you? Let me go give Doyas by a minute, please, and then I need to, because I need to take a few phone calls. I was meant to be talking about restructuring NHS, but I don't think I will have time. But never mind. Doyas by, short and brief, with respect, because we are on the air. We are not in a boardroom somewhere. I know you are frustrated, but please don't embarrass me.
No. We're not here to embarrass anybody. Even we are welcoming Professor Mahdi Yaqub for joining us in this program. I think you have tried many times to get a professional like that. We haven't, and we are very glad to see you. So we're not going to miss the opportunity. But one thing I would like to ask Professor Mahdi is, we all recognize that the Royal London Hospital, the top surgeons, the top consultants, they are the best, not in England, they're best in the world. You have people flying over from all over the world. The richest people come to UK, to professors like you to get treated because they have confidence in the service that you and your colleagues provide. Now, what we have been stating, we haven't at any point showed our finger at the professors or the consultant or the heart surgeon. They're the best. One other thing I must say is, Professor, don't take it bad way, is you and your colleague have chosen a profession because you chose that profession from a very young age to serve the people like us, like the community, and in return, you are getting as per salary as you would expect. So when you join an army, and you join an army to face an enemy if you go to war. When a war starts, you don't do run. You don't do a runner. You stay there, you fight the war. We know there's a pandemic, we know it's real. But one thing we shouldn't do is neglect and abuse the vulnerable patients who are admitted at the Royal London Hospital. And you point a really legitimate point that when you see your website, you will see a lot of people praising you. Now, have you seen the website of the Royal London Hospital Bath's Facebook? Yes, it's 50-50. 50% of the people are praising and 50% of the people are not praising. They're expressing bad experiences. And also you mentioned, and I would like to ask this question to you, that you are trying to engage our community, the Bang community, the Bangladesh community, to come forward and give organ donor, etc., etc. I haven't seen an advert within the Bangladeshi media.
Right, your question is becoming too long, Doras Bhai.
No, just this last point I want to answer. I've never seen any message from the NHS within the media from the community that it serves. Sir, thank you very much.
So if I just was to take the last thing first.
Yes.
That I have been on many Bangladeshi channels myself and have spoken in your news channels requesting and emphasizing the importance of organ donation. And there has been a drive through the mosques, because we know that Alhamdulillah on Friday, our mosques are full of people. And we have done a drive through the imams of most of the East London mosques. And we may have not been doing it through Facebooks, etc., but we have done it through direct patient contact. We have been to Whitechapel, every stall and every shopkeeper. So we have done it in our own way, maybe not the way we might have done, and we will learn from you if we get to know each other and you would advise us how best to approach this issue. But that is for after the COVID is over. I fully agree with you entirely that COVID has exposed the deficiencies in very delicately balanced NHS. It has exposed many things. It has exposed, in my opinion, the chronic underfunding in the NHS over the years. But this is not the time to do post-mortem of what was wrong and what was right. What we need to do is to find 5 to 10 easily fixable problems, which you guys have already identified. You have already raised these issues with Jackie Sullivan, who is our chief executive of Royal London Hospital. You have been in touch with all our management team at Royal London Hospital. And the process has already started, alhamdulillah.
Thank you.
With me there, I will try to facilitate it as much as I could. We are here with you. As I said, that 99.9% of the things we do is very good. Even 0.1% is bad. It's not acceptable to me.
Thank you. Dr. Nasir, do you want to ask him anything?
First of all, I'd like to thank Dr. Yaqub to attend and join us and taking all the concern and worries on board. And I can understand that you are open to suggestions and you are open to bring on changes, and you'd like to bring on changes. On this note, I'd like to just to point out to our viewers in the community is to just to consider the pandemic. The pandemic has actually shaken up a whole of the NHS, and I can give many examples, but it has taken a toll on every individual from the very top to the bottom of every member of the NHS. We either have ourselves had COVID, or our family members, or we have bereavement, known, or relatives, or a bit further in the community and in knowing people as well. So please bear those in mind. And also, I think what I need to say from my point of view, I'm Bangladeshi origin, but I do not consider myself being BAME because I'm a British citizen, I'm a UK citizen. I'd like to think, that I'm equal to everybody else. So probably our community, obviously, I'm not disrespecting any of the feeling of Bangladeshi, Pakistani, Indian, or anybody else. But as a patient, as a NHS, if we think from the patient point of view and NHS point of view, NHS treated everyone equally, fairly, and squarely. And as a patient, we do have some rights and responsibilities as well. And if we can work together, hand in hand, we can make progress. But sometimes, obviously, we appreciate the cultural diversity, specific need of our community, but we have to think through the NHS as a broader aspect, as a patient, as a citizen of the country. We should not be depriving ourselves by calling certain criteria, etc. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I really share your view, and I thank you for putting this point across to our community as well as the whole country. That it's nice to hear from the other side of the, side. Everybody goes and claps on Thursday morning, or they used to. Yes, it was good. We felt a little bit good. But it's good that you guys also hear from my and your side what is going on, the front line, what is going on in our lives as well. We are also human beings. We also have got feelings. We have also got emotions. And we have to put all that aside and take on day in and out. And as I said, that one of the brothers was saying that army people don't. Yes, they are trained to war. We are trained in a compassionate business. I was not trained to put my gear for 24 hours in complete PPEs and myself finding it hard to breathe. In those circumstances, we had worked. We had never done that anything. We were learning every day as we were going along. So you need to take those considerations as well and show, I think most of the patients and their relatives are very, very appreciative of what we have done. There will be few bad eggs, as you people have pointed it out, and few bad eggs give the bad reputation. But we need to work and get the whole system working together like four wheels in a car. As I said, only way to do that would be bilateral constructive discussion and moving forward rather than pointing fingers to each other. I can tell 101 thing of what my patients' relatives tell me when I've done my best. Oh, that is not the place to do it. These things do happen.
Right, thank you. Munimbai, you wanted to say, I need few minutes for telephone, but I want to ask him few things. Well, I got him with me.
Okay, if I could, can I come in?
But if you're going to take my time, let me take some time. Today I was the good boy on the program. I didn't say much, did I? Huh? Right.
Okay, can you give me 1 minute?
Yes, I will, but you have to wait, brother.
Okay.
Right, Professor. I'm going to address you as a professor. I understand.
Well,
I understand, but we as a Channel S, the recent census shows that Bangladeshi communities widened to closer to 1 million, over 800,000. We are in Birmingham, we are in Manchester, we are in Luton, but none of those trusts we have many complaint. We only have a complaint about Royal London. But COVID is not only in Royal London, COVID is everywhere, whole world. Why is it? Is that because of COVID, you guys was not prepared? Because if we say it's unprecedented was last year, not this year, January, because we all knew this is happening. We knew second hike is coming. We knew this is going to happen. Every day press conference. Why we don't get one complaint from Birmingham? Why don't get one complaint from Manchester? Why don't we even get from one complaint from UCL? So please explain. I'm not trying to target you. I just want to know there is something wrong somewhere, because Tower Hamlet population of Bangladeshi has reduced now. We are less than 25%. We are more in Cardiff, we are more in Camden. So we are not only Bangladeshi in Tower Hamlet, but this is the only hospital we have complained.
So I think, first of all, I will have to speculate, Mahee.
Yes, please do.
So I would just only speculate on one thing, that if you were to look at the different groupings of Bangladeshi people living in different areas, as you said, in Cardiff, in Birmingham, in Luton, in Bedford, wherever they are, you cannot just say that a Bangladeshi living in Bedford is the same as Tower Hamlet. You need to compare their ages, their comorbidities, their socio-economic status. There are so many factors which can affect somebody's predisposition to getting diseases. Their age is one of the biggest factors when it comes to COVID or any disease. So your point is valid, but what I see every day in my clinical practice from Tower Hamlets and from our Bangladeshi community, that the biggest killer of our community in the Tower Hamlet is diabetes. Almost every second patient in...
Professor, with respect, I am a diabetic. I'm a type 1 diabetic. My question still is, I know in Birmingham, it might be because you have too many BME working, because a lot of hospitals don't have too many BME. So there is a problem. You need to investigate and find out. I know one lady in Birmingham, she decided to come back from coma. She's now gifting her house to NHS Trust. So there are hospitals treating people correctly, but there is some problem. Could be too many BME. I'm not suggesting something wrong. There need to be investigations why that what's happened. And we can't just say because of COVID. I think the trust need to investigate why and how many complain, and there should be a complaint procedure. I understand you have it, but because somebody's mom gone, somebody's dad gone, he's going to live with that post-traumatic stress disorder for many years to come. And NHS have to fund it for his post-traumatic stress disorder. There need to be an investigation on it. We can talk about it, we can give justification, but there need to be, find out who is this culprit, who are the bag heads. Is it 2 bag heads or 4 eggs or 5? Let's find one, punish him. And then at least we will know that he's no longer there.
As I said, what you're saying, Mahee, is everything makes sense, but at the end of the day, everything got to be looked at in a scientific and a thorough statistical way. As I said, that I gave you few hard statistical facts, which I see every day. Now, just when I spoke about diabetes, I personally, this roll on to develop, because of the need for the East London, we are the first hospital in possibly whole of Europe to have a designated diabetic kidney disease center, funded hugely, and one of the top priorities of our Barts Health NHS Trust.
Right, let's not upset you more.
Reaching our and rising above, rising to the need of the community which we serve. I take your point that there may be more complaints, and it's worth looking at it in the object. I think that is the only thing I would say.
Yeah. Look, that's fine. Second question I want to ask. Look, you'll be pleased, very pleased. I went to, last year before COVID started, 2019, I went to an university, it's gone out of my head. The Medical Students Association, they invited me. There are 2,600 Bengali doctors, 3rd year and 4th years, are getting graduate in 2 years. So our community, next 10 years, I don't know how many thousand, it's going to be closer to 20,000 doctors will be produced by Bangladeshis. Bangladesh is not producing any more waiters and waitresses, that we are now, my daughter is on a 5th year now, and she asked me, Dad, which hospital do you think I should go? Because I got experience coming in. So our children are now going to become a lot of homegrown doctors. We are going to join, but the biggest problem, you said 50%, but 50% of the BME might be lower grade nurses and other consultants, but they're not going under the top lead. There have to be, there must be something for, there need to be more equal on the top level of BME. You must be the only BME in that trust, most probably. I don't know, I'm just guessing. So I think things will change, but we need to work together, because I think the Bangladeshi doctors are going to be flooding this market in next few years' time, because of my daughter, I go to these universities, and I asked her how many thousand, because she then made me a list, and we think that in 2020, about 10,000 graduates are coming out. There might be not enough job for them,
No, I mean, what you've said is that when I went to a very prestigious university to get a fellowship, And when I visited that university, which was purely for the ruling class, when I went and got a tour, I saw 80% of the people, students in that university from BME background. And I said it at that time point, which is 10 years ago, that a revolution has already started in United Kingdom. This community is, alhamdulillah, going to be involved in every part. And it was reassuring that not only medicine, in law, in social scientists, in PPEs, I'm teaching QMUL, so I can tell you from my personal experience that our students from the BME background are not only choosing that it used to be traditional, that they will become a doctor or a chartered accountant or a lawyer, otherwise they are not successful. Now, alhamdulillah, our community and their students are
Yeah,
going
at the university called King's, I forgot, but I went to King's and there was a charity, and I couldn't believe how many thousands of our children are coming out. It's a revolution itself, but we need, on a top level, we need to get more people in. And I know for a fact within our community, not Bangladeshi, I think there are skilled people. If we can advise Prime Minister, if we can advise big surgeons from the Muslim community. When I first came to this country 29 years ago, all the surgeons used to be all Muslim names, majority of them on the top level. So these things are now moving forward, but everyone need to work together and get to the top of it and make some decision, because lower level we won't be able to make decision.
As I said, I've always said it, that I believe in merit. I don't want anything given to me as charity. I want to get it from the front door. I don't want to enter the room from a back door. I want to go to the top by my hard work, by merit.
Thank you. Thank you.
Brother, that is changing. Remember, in these graduates who are coming out, when they will come out and they will talk to other part of the world in the same accent as the locals do, they will make a difference.
Thank you. Let me give I haven't forgotten Munimbai. Let me give at least 2 minutes I have 2 minutes to the callers. There are hundreds of them queuing up. So let's see who is on the line. But চেষ্টা করব আপনি ইংরেজিতে মাত্রা, so it make my life, and 30-second main point, please. Thank you.
Hello, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. In English, please, if you can.
Okay, I'm Moshahid Ali from Tower Hamlets. I think Brother Abu touched on my mum taking 2 hours for them to toilet. To be precise, it was actually 2 hours 45 minutes. Now, what actually concerned me that night was I tried to call the ward for 2 hours and no one would pick up the phone. I even went to the site manager and the site manager couldn't make contact with the ward, which was quite concerning because my mum is calling me from her mobile phone asking me if she wants to go to the toilet. So anyway, eventually after 2 hours 45 minutes, she was taken to the toilet. I felt relief. But what really concerned me was the following day, when I spoke to the ward manager about it, she basically said it was a lie. I didn't wait that long, and she accused me of making too many calls to the ward. Now, I was at that point panicking. My mum's stuck in hospital. I can't be there with her. I can't take her to the toilet. I trusted these to make sure that they take care of her basic needs. And here I was, 4 o'clock up to 6:45 in the morning, which is when I felt a lot of relief when my mum went to the toilet. So that's one concern. Now, I've lost faith in the process. When you speak to the ward manager the following day and they blame you for calling so many times to the ward, and they didn't even answer. It was only at 6:45 a.m. they answered. I didn't even complain. I've actually lost my faith in the complaint process because she said the nurse's notes doesn't reflect what I'm saying. So basically called me a liar. That's a big concern to me.
Did you put a complaint in writing? Because they have a complaint procedures.
Absolutely. But where the ward manager turned around and said to me, that's what the nurse's note reflects, I thought there's no point. I'm going to complain. They're going to say they looked at the record and there was not much point. I'll just be wasting time. So because of that reason, I didn't go forward with the complaint. A couple of other very brief points I want to make, brother. I know we're short on time, please, if you don't mind. Yeah, I understand what the professor's saying. In daytime, things can be absolutely fantastic because there's lots of doctors around. But nighttime, from my experience, I've had my mum and dad in hospital over the last 5 years. It's a different story. Sometimes the alarms are deliberately left on the floor because my mum can't speak English. Nurses are taking the mick. Sometimes my mum will ask for a common, but they'll take the mick out of the language. So these things I think are unacceptable because these nurses should be trained to understand holistic care. That's what they're trained on. Finally, the last point I wanted to make was medicine trial. That's a big danger in our community, people, because they almost sold it to me. It was a medicine trial. They said they want to give my mum a medicine. And said, oh, she's going to get much better. They've seen a lot of COVID patients get much better. But it's only when I asked for 2 hours time to research, I went back armed with information. And, armed with information, the doctor changed his view. He said, oh, I don't think that it will have much benefit anyway. It is only when I turned around and said that medicine has over 500,000 side effects. I don't know why you want to give this to my mum. One of the
I don't think I will have enough time to ask for everything, but let me go back to Professor. Let him see what he wants to say, because otherwise it's going to be incomplete. Let's see, because I literally ran out of time.
The caller, sorry, I didn't get your name. I apologize. I apologize on behalf of Barts Health. Obviously, anything which happens in the hospital where I work in, everyone who gets treatment like that, we are all ashamed. I will be ashamed of even hearing what you have just now said. But can I please in future, I hope it will never happen to you, don't do what you did. You need to put everything in writing unless it comes in front of the complaints procedure. We won't be able to assess anything objectively. Nothing will change. Your one letter or one complaint has to be addressed within 30 days by the chief executive of our hospital.
Thank you. Munim bhai, আপনার 10 সেকেন্ডে আপনার প্রশ্ন crossover.
My 10 seconds. Doctor, you've said the biggest killer is diabetics. Did you know in Hamlets, out of 19 organizations, Eating Care is the only BME Bangladeshi-led organization? Is Roland Hospital engaging? The short answer is no. So you want to address all these issues. Why is the hospital not engaging with BME-led organizations like Eating Care?
As I said, that maybe we have not come across you. Did you try to engage with us?
Yes, we have many times. And,
right, I don't have
the
this debate. You have promoted yourself enough tonight. Leave it. So you send Professor an email. You know his name. Send him an email. Go and see him. See if they want to. Professor, last word from you, please.
The last word is that I am humbled and I would say at times embarrassed at hearing what our community as well as other communities might be suffering. So it may not be just a Bangladeshi, it may be that the other communities have had the same experience. I hope these experiences are in minority. Majority of the people would have had a very good care and experience of their care in the hospital.
And thank you once again from Channel S family for coming to my show tonight. Thank you. ভিউয়ার্স হল আপনারা আর লাস্ট চান্স দেওয়া যেত না। আই রান আউট অফ টাইম। আপনারা আমরা ফ্যামিলি মেম্বার আছেন সবসময় আইন আমরা ক্ষমা করে দিবার। টেলিফোনও আপনারা হাফ অ্যান আওয়ার 40 মিনিট আসলে আমরা কয়েক সপ্তাহ পরে আবার অন্যরকম টুইস্টে কর্মনে NHS এর উপরে 6 সপ্তাহ যাক, তখন আবার আপনারা সবর মনের কথা আমরা শুনতাম পারবো। আপনারা ভালো থাকবা, আমার লাগি দোয়া করবা। আগামী সপ্তাহ আমরা একটু কোভিডের লইয়া যাইমু, আবার কোভিডের ব্যবসা বাণিজ্য লইয়া আপনারা সব ভালো থাকুকা। কোভিড লইয়া আবার আলাপ করবো আমরা। আমার লাগি দোয়া করবা। আমার কাছ থেকে কোনো প্রকারের ভুল ত্রুটি হইলে আপনারা ক্ষমার চোখে দেখবা আমারে এবং আমার গেস্ট হোল্ডারে। থ্যাংক ইউ।